Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the Richard Lewis Show. We've been on hiatus for a while. There's lots to talk about, but I am not going to eat into my guest's time because I've got Daps from Optic. He's come on the show to specifically talk about some of the allegations that have been made publicly by one of their ex-players, Shazam, who blew up his stream. It blew up on Reddit. He's been talking all sorts of smack about what happened in the team. We're going to get right into that. Before we do, I just want to give a shout out to this episode's sponsor, which is from Evil Twin Brewing. They provided me with a case of hipster ale to plug them on the show. Yes, that's hipster ale. You don't have to be a hipster to drink it, but it helps. Anyway, Daps, how are you doing, buddy?
Too bad yourself.
I'll be good in about 5 minutes, but I guess I've been doing a lot better than you've been doing. Lots of drama affecting you at the moment, and that's what I want to bring you on and just talk about right from the get-go. So, obviously, Shazam, who I thought was an integral part of the Optic CS team. I thought he was one of the better performers in the team. Obviously, a lot's going on behind the scene. He got cut from the team and replaced by a player we'll talk about a little later in the show. And then I thought he was going to go out gracefully. You know, he made a few tweets that were like, oh, it's one of those things. I wish I was still in Optic. And then in classic NA fashion, he goes on stream and starts trash talking all of you. And you guys haven't had a platform to get an official response out, which is why I spoke to Hex, why I've spoke to you, and that's why you're here right now. So why don't you give me a little bit of background, first of all, on why Shazam is no longer part of Optic?
All right, so there's multiple factors of why we replace Shazam, and obviously he's not a bad player. I just want to come out and say this. I'm not coming on the show to trash talk Shazam. I've played with the guy for almost 2 years collectively, back on Denial Esports, and then he joined Cloud9, and then Tempo Storm for him, and then Conquest Optic. So I wanted to keep it like it's peaceful. I'm not coming on here to talk shit about him, but I'm gonna lay down some facts of like the history of Shazam and sort of like his past dealings with my past team. So let's go back to 2014, back when we were Denial Esports. This is around the time, so we used to have a Juvenile, Naf, Fugly, Shazam, and myself, which was our roster. So this is after Sevoland, the very first Sevoland that ever happened. And there had always been some sort of like conflict between the team. Shazam being one of the more stronger personalities on the team, obviously. Fugly being very passive, Naf being very passive. And we actually replaced Juvenile for Nitro at the time.
Yep.
So this is around the 2 weeks we had Nitro on the team, and we won the John Wick Invitational.
Right.
And back then on Denial, it wasn't always like sunshine and rainbows. We were doing really well considering our team is very unproven and a lot of our players were inexperienced. But we had a decent amount of conflict, and there's one example. I'm not going to go into detail a lot because a lot of it's way in the past, but I'll bring up one example that really stood out to me and the rest of my teammates at the time. So we're playing a scrim against Mousespaz or iBuyPower, one of the two teams on Cash. We're losing like 6-1 or something in a scrim, and Fugly did something that got Shazam killed or something. He was falling back from checkers at B. The details don't really matter, but he did something.
I hate when people do that.
Yeah, so he did something that pissed off Shazam, and Shazam pretty much said like, "What are you doing, you effing idiot?" Something along those lines. It wasn't really needed to go that far on him. Fugly's obviously a very passive person. And this is around the time we're trying out Nitro. Like, we just started playing with the guy. Nitro is very unknown at the time. So, the next round, Fugly TK Shazam and leaves the server. And this is something that only our team knows and Mousespaz knows. So, Mousespaz, for the people that don't know the history, like, Mousespaz is current CLG. So, like, Hayes, JDM, and those guys. So, this happens during the scrim. And it happened sort of like what Shazam was doing. And he was a very good player. Like, it's nothing about his skill that was bad back then, but he was so hard on some of the teammates on the team. And again, like, these are very passive people, very passive personalities that they can't handle, like, when someone is so critical and so just he's not giving constructive criticism, right? He's way too hard on people at times. So Fugly kind of blew up, killed him in the scrim, and left Mumble, left the server. That was it for the night. And then later on, like in the week, we scrimmed like Dust 2 against some team, and it kind of happened again, but Fugly didn't leave. He just PM'd me on Steam like, this is like getting crazy, and it was actually got to the point where we actually considered replacing Shazam before that ESEA LAN season 17, where we all kind of had our breakout performance where we beat Cloud9 that had Hiko on it before. That's like 2 years ago. And obviously, I didn't want to do it. I'm glad we didn't replace him because he played insane. Like, he did really well at that LAN. I think that's his best LAN to date still. Like, he played insane at that LAN. And I'm glad we didn't do it. But there was a chance we were going to replace him if Nitro didn't get taken from iBuyPower.
Right.
So that was around the time where iBuyPower replaced Steel and Dazed for Desi and Nitro. And we had just replaced Juvenile with Nitro. So we picked up Anger in place of him kind of as like a ringer. We didn't have Anger. We didn't really have a real fifth for like a month and a half. We just kind of had 3 players within a month's time. So it's something that we couldn't really control, but that's just the start of like...
Yeah, so I guess what you're saying here is that, you know, Shazam hasn't always been the ideal teammate. But I'll be honest with you, at this point, it does sound like, I mean, this is normal NA team stuff. This doesn't sound like this is somebody who is incredibly problematic to play with. So what I'm intrigued about is, you know, like, okay, yeah, you resolve it. You agree to play with him again in this Optic lineup. It's all kind of working, like you say. He's playing well. He's one of the standout performers in the team. Where do the problems start again, if they do start again, or was this something that's persisted and never went away?
Okay, so again, I'll bring up some more history because this is actually something Ronnie told me. He said it kind of happened on Tempo Storm as well. So this was not a team I was on. This was when I got replaced on Liquid. I kind of wasn't playing at the time. So Ronnie, or RYX for people that know him, he told me that it's sort of a trend where Shazam sort of like picks on one person on the team. I don't think he does it intentionally. I don't think he's trying to be like a douchebag or toxic to people. Right. But it's more so he doesn't really know how to give like constructive criticism at times of hardship. Is the best way to put it. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. I was told that Stanislaw was one of like the main people that he kind of went in on Tempo Storm. Okay. And then later on, it was me. So when we created Conquest, it was me, RYX, Shazam, Rush, and Naf, before Stan was even on the team. Right. So we had some rough nights on Conquest. Nights where even Ronnie or RYX, he backed me up. He's like, why are you like going in on Daps so hard? Like, it was just, I never took it personally. So
when you say going in on, do you mean criticizing your play, criticizing your personality, just calling you out for mistakes? What was
It's mainly he's way too critical on the mistakes that people make. And sometimes there's even, if he's directly affected by it, if he's killed in a game and he thinks that someone messed up to get him killed, he'll go off before he even knows what happened. But it didn't really affect me mentally as much, but it kind of made people on my team more upset than it did myself. Okay. And that's kind of where the problem started.
So I find this interesting though, because this seems to be almost like a contradiction to what Shazam was putting out publicly. Because I was going to bring up this tweet where he said when a teammate is having problems, I'm paraphrasing here, but it was along the lines of when a teammate is having problems, the team should rally around that individual and help them out. I think this tweet might have later been deleted. I'm not too sure. But it was the first indication, and this is a few months ago, it was the first indication that there were any real problems in the team. So he's saying this publicly. And what I'm worried about here is, because we're talking about this kind of past history, I guess if Shazam was here, I did invite Shazam to come on the show. I messaged him. I don't know if he'll change his mind and come on eventually or whatever. But it sounds like what we're doing here is not a smear campaign, but you know what I mean? We're creating this idea of him being, since 2014, a not very good teammate, when actually publicly he's projecting and saying, I was kind of the victim. My teammates weren't helping me out.
No, so okay, that's even why Naf wanted to be on this show. Naf is known as a guy who never does interviews, never does any of that stuff. He's a fairly shy kid, and that's one of the things that pissed him off the most about this whole situation. I'm not going to defend ourselves for the final month of this situation. We didn't handle it well at all, and it's completely our fault. But it's not fair for Shazam to play victim when he pushed everyone on the team to sort of dislike him in this way and push them to act a certain way that they did. So that's sort of like the one thing I'm most upset about, is that he'll go on stream and he'll talk about how he was treated at the end of Optic, but he directly caused everyone to act that way over the course of almost 6 months. Stan was only on the team for 3 months, but he's sort of been acting that way around Naf and I. Naf and I have been his teammate on every team I've ever played on with him, with Naf. So he's been acting this way for close to 2 years, with me at least. And I don't even know his history in Source or other games before that. But
okay. So as I said at the start of the show, Shazam, he seemed to take it very well when it was announced that he was kicked. He just tweeted, I'd love to still be part of Optic. No problems with the guys. I've got offers. Seemed to be going out in a classy and respectful manner, despite everything that's gone on in the past. Then he takes to his stream and he starts to give his version, his explanation of why he was kicked. Now, in that, he said that certain players refused to listen to him or follow with what Sham was doing, and called him a bot and a $5,000 decoy. And a lot of people have kind of read between the lines and said this is Stanislaw. He's like the strong personality. And you've kind of alluded to it there. You've said that Stan will stand up for people. Stan had your back. And I'm guessing it's a fair assumption then that Stan and Shazam weren't getting on in the team. Is that the main cause of the conflict?
I'll clear it up. So there's even stuff that I don't necessarily know between Shaz and Stan. There were some nights I'd come on and I'd be like, so there was a fight or something, and I wouldn't really understand. But the Shaz always asked, like, I don't understand. He always asked this to me. He's like, I don't understand why Stan dislikes me so much, because I've never really said anything to him. And the truth about it is, there was one night that really everyone on the team lost respect for him. And it was a night where Shaz like went in hard on me. Like, he's like, I won't go into details, but he said pretty much like, I'm the worst player on the team. I know that I'm not the most skilled player. I know that skill-wise, I'm not the best player on the team. And by far, I'm probably the worst. But that's something for like you to say, or like an analyst or something to be like, this guy's not performing well. That's your job. It's not a teammate's job to call out a person and call them bad, pretty much. And that was sort of the night that everyone, not even just Stan, Nap as well, Rush, lost every little bit of respect they had left for Shazam. Was that night. And that was about a month and a half ago.
So do you guys have a coach or a manager? I mean, because initially it sounds like what we've got a team of pretty strong personalities. And I've known Shazam a long time as well. I know he's a strong personality. I don't know the rest of the team quite as well, although I imagine that's going to change very soon. And, I'm going to assume you guys have strong personalities. But one of the things that a coach or a manager or any kind of periphery character would do is conflict resolution. So when teammates aren't getting along, someone comes in and says, "Look, come on, this is stupid. We've got a job to do. Let's all get on the same page, or let's get around and sit in a circle, and we can all hold the trust pillow and air our grievances or whatever the fuck, right?" So why didn't this happen if this was such an ongoing problem? I mean, did you raise it with anyone externally? Because I know Hector really wants this to work out and has put a lot of faith in you guys. And obviously we'll talk a bit about the Optic brand in a second. So did anyone bring this up, that it was going on? Yeah, so in terms of coaching and managers to help the situation out, we brought in Paulie. He was the first and only official coach we ever had. This was before Optic. So when we were Conquest, we had Paulie for a bit. Paulie's a good guy. I like him. But Paulie didn't really bring to the table what we need in terms of controlling people, and he didn't really we wanted a person to help control like the attitudes on the team and also help control our communication and make it better.
But after, this is something that no one actually knows, I think, because he never officially coached for us, but we brought in a player, Mustang. You know him from Source.
Yep.
He played the CGS, one of the best players in Source at the time.
Great player.
We had Mustang for about a month and a half on and off, and he's very smart. He came in, he told us literally the first 2 days he was with us, he called out every single person on their problems. He called out Shazam, he called out Rush, called out me. He knew everyone's problems and pretty much told us what they were and stuff. But the problem is that we always knew our problems, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much every night for like 3 months or 4 months, we were having like even when Ronnie was on the team, we were having like team talks about attitudes, like, oh, you can't say this and this to this person, like we're teammates, you can't, like, it happens in every team, right? Every team's going to have these kind of like talks and attitudes, but it kind of, we did, to answer your question better, we did look for outside help, and it was, give or take, it was okay. It wasn't like, it didn't really help us, but Mustang definitely knew what he was talking about for that.
So there were other allegations, and I've got a list of them here, and we'll get to the juicier one kind of last. But you know, he was talking about how you guys contacted Oscar behind his back. Now, here's the thing: I remember at the time I first heard rumors from my NA sources, my source network, my spies, that Oscar had been approached by Optic, and I was like, oh, that's fucking interesting, because Shazam is already in the team and he's doing very well at the moment. And even though Oscar would be an upgrade just 1-for-1, it's not usual that a team looks to replace one of its better players, even if the player they're replacing him with is better. So I first thing I did, obviously, was like do some digging. I think Oscar had even confirmed it on stream that he'd been approached by an NA team. He might have said Optic by name. My memory's a little hazy. And then I reached out to Hector, obviously, and said, would you care to comment on this? I don't know if I'm going to publish anything. And he just said, dude, like, I'm not even going to lie to you, because I won't play you like that. This is nothing that we're doing on an official level. Now, Shazam said, you guys actually did reach out to Oscar. I'm guessing that's true. Because based on what you're saying, it looks like you guys had already made the decision to replace him. So what happened with the Oscar situation? Did you guys unofficially reach out to Oscar and try and replace Shazam?
It wasn't an official offer.
Yeah.
I was asking like some people from HLTV. I'm like, do you know any players that are up and coming, or like anyone that we could potentially like look at? There was no official offer made to Oscar. I talked to the guy for like 5 minutes. I'm just like, is there any, if you ever had an offer, like interest in moving to North America, would you be interested? That's all it was. And he said, like, I already have offers from other European teams, and I don't want to leave my family. And that was that. So
it was a very short conversation. It didn't get far at all.
No, it was never like I recontacted him and like brought in management, or there was never an offer on the table to Oscar. Yeah. So why did Shazam think it was worse than it was? Because I mean, obviously, it does still show intent to replace him. It does.
Did you say to Oscar you'll be coming in for Shazam if you do join us, or did you not even give that level of detail?
I never told him who he was replacing. No, I never said that. So
Shazam had kind of just, put 2 and 2 together. I think he made 4.
Yeah,
he could have made 5, but I think he made 4.
He could. You could pretty much make it out, considering he was an offer as well. It's not.
Yeah,
put 2 and 2 together.
It's not too hard. So here's the thing then. So I mean, did you reach out to any other players? I mean, obviously you don't need to necessarily name names, but let's say at the point, look, Oscar's a huge presence. I'm sure he's going to have a very bright future, on whatever team he joins in the future. And that's no disrespect to his current employers. I just think he's going to end up on a much bigger team. But did you reach out to any other players, any other NA players? Because the reason I asked this is there was a lot of chatter going around, and everyone in fucking NACS is a gossip, right? And everybody was just talking about Shazam's definitely out. Optic are looking to replace him. So did you reach out to anybody else? And again, you don't need to name drop.
No one in North America. Obviously, I'm not saying we wouldn't, but obviously as contracts exist, there's no chance we could ever pick up anyone that would be an upgrade for Shazam. and no one that would be even on his level that's a free agent. So it's just not possible.
So there's two questions that come off the back of this, and the first would be if everybody on the team, if 4 people are unhappy with the 5th guy, right, then why would you not have a conversation with them and say, look, you bring them in like a fucking intervention. Obviously, you're not an alcoholic. You've never had an intervention. Let me tell you, right? This is how an intervention looks. One day you just come in from home or whatever, and there's just people sat in a circle, and they go, Richard, we're doing this because we love you. And you're like, oh, God, here it comes, right? So obviously I've never had an intervention. I am joking. I've got to be careful about what I say these days. But anyway, you could have had an intervention for Shazam. You 4 guys could have been there saying, look, Shaz, we're doing this because we love you, but you got to get your shit together or we're all going to kick you out. At any point, did the 4 of you confront him and tell him he was at the Last Chance Saloon?
There was never... We've had team talks. Never something like you did or talked about, like an intervention style thing where we all came in and it was like only about him. We had team talks almost every week about everyone's problems, but there was one time where Shaz was catching on. This was around the time where he found out the Oscar thing happened. So this was like a month ago. Yeah. I sort of did the intervention kind of thing to him one-on-one, and I sat him down and I was just like, the team's not happy with your attitude, the way you act and stuff. And it also came down to gameplay. Like, I don't want this to look like he's just getting replaced because of his attitude. There was gameplay implications that strictly were the reason that actually pushed it over the edge. It's like, it's almost at the point where like we can deal with a certain attitude if they're destroying. It's like, I'm sure there's other teams that have players that are really, really good and they have attitudes and they have to deal with them because they're a really, really good player. But it got to the point, I think Thorin was the first guy to kind of call Shazam out on this, was sort of his baiting style opping. Right. And Shazam's not a bad player. It's just, we have so many passive play styles on the team. Stan's a slow play style. Naf is a slow play style. Rush is really the only person that likes to go and get entry kills. So we wanted an opper that had more of an early presence in rounds. And Mixwell, we're not even just looking at stats about Mixwell. I looked at just his first kill rating. I talked to him a few times before we even decided on it. He's good mindset. He brings like a fresh ideology to the team as well, coming from Europe. He said his team practiced like 7, 8 hours a day or something like that, and he wasn't even getting paid. So like, this is a guy who's got really good work ethic, and is the exact fit that we want for the team. So that's the second reason as well. It's not just because of an attitude issue; it's also a gameplay.
So the second question was, we've talked about how this is like an ongoing issue. This has been going on for a while. You play with Shazam in a number of lineups, and you found him to be a difficult person to get along with in each of those lineups. And at times, he's even turned on you personally and has said some fairly harsh things to you. So why was it? Why did it take so long for you guys to really bite the bullet and decide we're gonna replace this guy?
Sorry,
what
I didn't mean
so
to go.
No, go on. You jump in.
It's sort of my fault. Specifically, directly my fault. Shaz has no idea how many times I stood up for him in terms of like teammates coming to me saying like, I can't play with this guy anymore. Like, the amount of times that I said, don't worry, we'll push through it and like he'll change and stuff. The amount of times I said that to every player on all the teams I've played on with him is at least over 20, 30 times. The amount of times people have come to me and saying like they can't handle it anymore, that they think we should make a change, and I kept pushing it further and further, and I'm like, it'll work out, like don't worry about it, like we'll push through it. And it came to the point where it was unfixable, honestly. Like there was no hope at the end for it to work out. Yeah.
So here's the other allegation. And don't worry, we're gonna start talking about some good stuff soon. But this is the big one, okay? So this is the one everybody really jumped on. I saw people even responding to tweets and whatnot. And that was where he says that for the DreamHack qualifier, the DreamHack Austin qualifier, you guys had to drop out due to an emergency. But he said there was no emergency. He said you guys stayed up till 9 a.m. playing ESEA pugs. You guys fell asleep. You weren't able to be woke up in time. And that's why you missed the qualifier. Now, obviously, as a journalist, I hear a lot of bullshit. Okay, you know that, right? I mean, everyone, like you, I think it might have been you who tweeted it out, but one of your teammates definitely said on Twitter, it could have been you. A kick player will do anything to save face. They'll say anything. And I hear a lot of bullshit. That's why I always try and interview both sides of the story. But equally, when I hear something, I look at it and see whether or not it's got the ring of truth. By that I mean it's just something that sounds plausible or something that would make no sense to make it up. Now, obviously, this is your platform to say exactly what happened, but I got to say, when I heard that, honestly, it had that ring of truth to it because it just seemed such a strange thing to make up, and the emergency was never really specified. Nobody really cleared up what it was, and obviously, I've known teams do this in the past, so. It was a very specific and strange allegation. How do you respond to that? Is Shazam telling the truth, a partial truth, or is this an out-and-out lie?
I will explain the whole thing. So I'll first come on to the practice. We decided that since Shaz doesn't know this because, obviously he was getting replaced, we decided to take some time off from practicing because, one, it's pretty pointless to practice with a player that's going to be replaced. And especially in a game like CSGO where Mixwell's coming in, he's not even going to directly replace all of Shazam's roles. So we can't even practice our own roles in a way because we're going to be switching spots as well and everything else. So we took a 10 or 12 day break. We grinded rank S a lot because you play 10 days for 4 or 5 grand. All three of us got the top. We got 12 grand. But what happened for DreamHack Austin was no one else missed the match but myself. It was not a situation where 3 people slept in or anything like that. What happened was I went to bed at 7 or 8 in the morning. I set my alarm for 12 a.m. instead of 12 p.m. for our 1 p.m. Eastern match. And I didn't wake up because the alarm was set for 12 a.m. and not 12 p.m. And I told Shazam this the second I came online. I'm not sure if he specified the details of it. Yeah. From what it sounded like when I read the comments was that even some prominent people came and said it was disgusting, we missed the matches and all that. It was just myself. It was not the whole team missed the match because they were staying up. It was purely my mistake, human error. And when I came online, and the thing people are most pissed about is what I read is that we lied about it. I came online and they truly thought it was an emergency. They tweeted out it was an emergency because they hadn't heard from me. I said I was just going to the washroom and I just wanted to rest my eyes before the match, take a nap because I wasn't feeling that great. And I fucked up. I set the alarm to the wrong time. And I came online and instead of just telling the truth, which would have just been fine from what it seems like right now, I just said, everything's all right. There's no problem. And I just thought it was swept under the rug.
Well, here's the thing. In that situation, once it gets to that point, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Because obviously, if you publicly say, I fucked up and I didn't set the alarm for the right time, everyone calls you stupid for not being able to set an alarm. I mean, I've got one eye on the Twitch chat right now. And of course, it's NA alarm, la, la, la. That's going to happen, right? Okay. But the other thing is, if you then try and cover it up, which of course in this situation I would totally understand why any player would, because it does look bad. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. If you guys are playing pugs and then you miss an official, obviously that does look bad. And if for example, I don't know if Hector knew the full story, but if Hector did know about it, he might take it bad and he might come in and, I know, fine you guys or kick your asses or whatever Hector does. So I would understand trying to obfuscate the truth. And obviously, look, I'm not saying what you did is cool, but equally, shit goes on in teams, and you get into mischief and you get into hijinks. You know, professional footballers go out drinking on nights they've meant to have curfew because they got training the next day, and they come in a little bit hungover. This shit does go on in professional sports. Is it optimal? No, but does it go on? Yeah. So I don't necessarily think you should be crucified for that. But what I will say is, you can understand that the opportunity you have playing for a huge brand like Optic, even if things aren't good in the team, you've got to do your job, right? I mean, you've got to make yourself available for games and try and get rest before official games. Because if you could have gone to that DreamHack, Austin, that's an event in the US where you guys are playing and you're repping the Optic brand. So how do you feel about that whole incident and how it went down?
I mean, I felt terrible when I woke up and realized I missed the match and that I screwed up. And I want to apologize to, first I want to apologize to Optic and the fans as well that were really pissed about it. It was just really hard to sort of just come on, and I don't know. I should have just told the truth from the start, because in reality, people told me that it wasn't even that big of a deal, but since we lied about it and continued it, then it obviously makes it worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would have been cool because we made SEVO LAN. DreamHack Austin is right after SEVO LAN and right before ESA LAN, so we could have had the opportunity to potentially go to 3 events in a week and a half, which would have been really cool, even though it's a lot of traveling. But we're extremely disappointed, and I feel really bad that I fucked up.
Now that obviously the truth is kind of out there, has anything happened? I mean, has Hector talked to you about this? Have your teammates talked to you about this? How awkward did this kind of revelation actually get? I mean, obviously you're apologizing for it now. And look, I don't think you're a bad dude, obviously. I genuinely think, obviously, you are a bit fucking, remorseful or whatever you want to say about that. But did anyone come to you and say, yeah, come on, that can't happen again type thing?
I mean, obviously my teammates were all kind of mad at the start, but they realized that mistakes happen, and even Shazam. Okay, this one thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way as well. It's it's not like Shazam's coming out and telling the truth to sort of he feels bad about lying to the community. No.
I the motives are quite clear.
He even tweeted out the emergency thing as well to keep that clear. There's a tweet of him tweeting out I had an emergency or whatever. He was covering it up for me as well, and the only reason he said the truth was to make us look bad. Yeah. That's his motive. And that was kind of the one thing that rubbed me the wrong way, because he even told me the day before, we're all cool, there's no bad blood. Word for word is what he said, no bad blood between us. So that,
I mean, yeah, you can see that there clearly is some bad blood.
Yeah, I mean, I would be naive to think that he'd be able to leave on good terms in a way like that. But I don't have anything against him. Even when Ronnie was cut, Ronnie eventually apologized for me for how he acted after he was replaced. And, the emotions run high when people get replaced on teams, and they may say things that they might regret later. And I don't have anything against Shazam. Just he said some things, and we have to deal with it. And we deserve everything that we get, mainly myself, for messing up.
So, look, final negative question, and then obviously I'm conscious for time because I know you've got to go play a game in a bit, so I don't want to keep you. But this is the last thing that's even going to be vaguely negative, and then we'll talk about the future and some good stuff. And that just is, obviously, I'm alluding to it. Optic, this huge brand, and when they first came in and picked up the Conquest team, I know the orgs you guys turned down. I know you could have been TSM, and, blah, 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 all of that good stuff. You had your choice. You had this great run at SEVO, really impressed a bunch of people with some very, very good performances. And here you are in Optic, this huge Call of Duty brand that came in. They had talks, I think, with the Danes, who are now Astralis, and in the end they decided to go with you. And Hector speaks very highly of you. Me and Hector go out for beers, and he thinks you guys are going to be the big personalities that can really, put Optic CS across. So, I mean, what have you learned from all of this? What changes are you guys going to make internally? How are you going to handle the next bump in the road? Because obviously it would be a tragedy for CS if, I don't know, Hector one day just woke up and went, you know what? fuck this, and he just withdrew his support for our game. So I mean, what's the big learning curve here?
The big learning curve is that we need to be more involved in the community, especially like Optic has the biggest fan base, and Shazam was the front runner as well, right? So that's why a lot of people instantly believed everything he said, was because Shazam was the face of the team. So obviously replacing the face of the team, the guy who's in all the vlogs up to date, and the one guy who streams most of the time. So we need to sort of do more for the community instead of like obviously like focusing on playing well, and putting more time into team practice is also a priority, since we've kind of been having turmoil for so long, and now that it's finally over, like we just had our first night of like scrimming 5 times in a row or whatever in a long time. So we're back scrimming again, like grinding as hard as we can, and we just need to do more. And hopefully nothing like this ever happens again, and we can just focus on getting better and playing.
Okay. So here's the good stuff. You've brought in Mixwell. Not a name a lot of people expected to be the replacement for Shazam. You talked about it a little bit earlier in this interview where you were saying, hey, he's got these, it's not like we just looked at stats, but it turns out he's got these impressive stats. So what was the thought process? Why did you guys go? Why did you go for a European player, first of all? I mean, you guys must know that there's a big NA shuffle coming in. That's just how that happens after every big tournament. So what was it about Mixwell specifically that caught your eye? Because a lot of people were surprised by this pickup.
I think there's a few things. We didn't want to really go back to having a full-time opper role that we did have with Shazam, even unless we could get like someone like a Guardian or Skadoodle or someone like that, obviously. But we feel that we can be more versatile with a hybrid role, since we have NAF as well. And also just Shazam's not bad. So like replacing Shazam with a North American player is not easy, right? Like we can't just like replace someone who's already like good and with someone in North America who's going to be under contract already. So Oscar's really good. Like, or I should say Mixwell. Mixwell's really good.
You're not still dreaming of Oscar. You're not still dreaming. You're happy with Mixwell. All right.
Yeah. Mixwell's first name's Oscar, for people who don't know.
Oh, all right. Yeah, there you go. That's good. Clarify that.
But yeah, so I watched pretty much all his games he's ever played. And especially the one that he played against Fnatic caught my eye, because it was when G-Bots did well at ESL Barcelona or whatever. DreamHack. I don't know what it was. It was the Barcelona event.
Yeah, it was an ESL one in Barcelona.
Yeah. So I watched his match against Fnatic, and I know it's just one match to go off of. It's a best of one. But the way he played with such confidence against such a good team and did well at the same time. And then when you go and look at all his other matches, and I watched pretty much all his demos to make sure, like I scouted him hard. Like I watched every match he's ever played. And the same play style persists in all his games, and he's very aggressive, goes for first kills, and that's exactly what we wanted, and he was good at doing it, and he had the stats to back it up as well, so it showed that he had success doing that.
So when does he get out there? When is he bedding in, and how's it all going to work? Because obviously I know he leagues around the corner. Obviously you guys qualified for that in Vegas, so you're going to be part of that. Obviously there's like visas and all sorts to think about. So how's the process coming along?
Obviously this whole situation has kind of halted things. It's been kind of messy the last couple weeks, 3 weeks, but it's all in the past. We hope we can get past it. And in terms of like visas and stuff, I'm not too Turner handles that with the orgs, I believe. That's nothing the players really deal with. And then in terms of like our first game's tonight with him, we play Echo Fox with, so it's our first game with Mixwell. We've only been able to practice with him for 2 days, but he's living at my house. I bought a new PC so that he can use my old PC, and everything's gone well so far with our new lineup. Like we're having a good time, and hopefully it continues.
So look, just some final thoughts. I'll let you get away because I know you've got a game and I know you want to prepare for it. Obviously, it looks like Shazam's moved on. He looks like he's going to be in Splice. We saw a lot of people tweeting that he might have replaced Abe of all people, which I'm surprised.
That's surprising for me too.
Professor Chaos must give good head. That's all I'm going to say. He must, because how he stays in that team, but Abe doesn't. Whatever. But anyway, and they just replaced a coach as well lately. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Splice. But just for the final word, I mean, I know there's been a lot of back and forth between you both, and it's played out publicly. But there's still no ill feeling on your side, or is there? I mean, how do you feel towards Shazam and his kind of new start he's going to have over in Splice?
I mean, everything I did for Shaz, like behind the scenes and stuff, and convincing people to continue playing with him and stuff, he didn't know any of that really, because I'm not going to tell him like people don't want to play with him every week or something like that. But I'm not going to have hard feelings against him. He was feeling upset. He was released from his contract, and he said some things were over-exaggerated. Everything was over-exaggerated, but there was truth to some things he said. I can't defend our actions for the last couple weeks or 3 weeks because we didn't handle it well, and a lot of it's just inexperience in our team. We're all like pretty young. We've never really handled situations like this before. So I hope Shaz is a good player. Like I think just as long as there's some sort of figurehead, manager, or a coach, that his problems will never be seen. As long as, because I know Cloud9 is actually a good example. I think Stunna did a really good job with Shazam. I don't think Cloud9 ever had problems with him at all. So I think that's one of the keys, is maybe getting a figurehead, someone to kind of help control the situation with Shazam.
Well, I always think the best thing that happened to Shazam was that Dazed video where he absolutely fucking wrecked him, because nothing will bring you, down to earth and a very good public wrecking. And I actually think, I'm not even exaggerating, I think that was instrumental in kind of helping his personality develop and actually his game develop. I mean, if Dazed could, shave some of the sharp edges off, he could probably be a good coach, in all honesty. But look, anyway, I'll let you go and prepare for your game. Are there any final shout outs? I don't know if you want to name drop some sponsors or anything like that before you head off. I'm more than happy to do that.
Yeah, I just want to apologize again for the way this was handled. I want to apologize for me messing up for the DreamHack Austin. Again, to reiterate, it was just myself, not the rest of the team. And I want to thank you as well for taking your time to let us have a voice.
Hey, I'm a journalist. I just latch on to the drama and want to get the hits. So fuck me, right? But no, obviously it was good to finally do an interview. I don't think I've seen a lot of interviews with you, so it was nice to put something a little bit different out there. So thank you.
All right, and obviously, thank you to Optic for supporting us. Thank you to all our sponsors. And that's all I have to say for now.
Awesome. Well, look, thanks a lot for coming on the show. I'll let you go and play your game. I'm probably going to be watching that, but I'm going to wrap up the show now, so I'll let you go. We're going to take a short break while Daps disconnects and goes and gets warmed up, and we're going to go over a few of the headlines that have just been breaking to wrap up the show. Thanks a lot to Daps. Thanks a lot to you guys. Don't go anywhere. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Obviously, we'll edit this out on the VOD, but that was Daps. Daps from Team Optic there, taking his time just before he plays their first game with a new lineup, minus Shazam against Echo Fox. That's going to be in approximately 20 minutes. I'm going to wrap up the show so you guys can go and watch that. I think I might watch that myself. But I will just take the remaining amount of time that we've got just to kind of talk about a few other things that have been going on. Obviously, I will reiterate that Shazam, I did try and reach out to you via Twitter DMs. I know you've been busy lately with your new opportunity at Splice and everything. So if you do want to come on the show and rebut some of the things that have been said, or if you think Daps has sufficiently found the balance, entirely up to you. Get in touch. And, of course, we're going to be doing a few more of these type shows on the fly in the future. Let's talk about some of the news. So, and Sam, feel free to join in, mate, because it gets lonely. With just me. Obviously, one of the much maligned teams that we've been talking about for a long period of time, Winter Fox, They finally bit the bullet and made the change one of the changes I think they needed to make, and that is that they have dropped Desi from their lineup. Now, just to put it into context, Winter Fox have been together for something like 6 months now. They've had numerous boot camps. They continually underperform at every opportunity, it seems like. Every time they're out there, they just flop. There's new teams coming together that are beating them. This shouldn't be happening. And for me, I think their level has plateaued. I don't even think one roster change can necessarily save Winter Fox from mediocrity. However, they've addressed one of the problems, and that is they've dropped Desi now and replaced him with Hades. Now, Desi was one of the problems, in my opinion, because he has this play style where it's like he's just got fucking ants in his pants and he won't hold an angle on the CT side. He has to push, and that's great because sometimes, maybe once every 10 rounds, he'll push and he'll get 2-3 kills from behind by pushing in a way that people don't anticipate. Unfortunately, when you're playing top-level opposition that anticipate CT pushes, he just gets wrecked. And I've been watching this style for a while right now, and it's been one of the things that have been hampering Winter Fox, because when Desi gets impatient, Winter Fox are playing all their CT rounds 4v5, and it's not worth the info, it's not worth the intel, because it's typically happening right at the start of a round. Anyway, Hades has come in. I don't really know if this is an improvement overall in talent, but it might be an improvement overall in discipline. This is someone who obviously was in the denial lineup, which kind of melted down after Whitmer took the trial with complexity. So you're following CS now, aren't you, Sam?
Yeah, not so much NA, but a little bit. Yeah, I've been watching some of the games.
Yeah?
Been watching casters struggle through 18-hour days of overtimes for no reason.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. It's almost like NA teams are a bit shit.
Yeah, go figure, right? But I don't know. I think that this team's still going to have fundamental issues. Look, I really like Todd, but I just think Anger has been like massively underperforming for a while right now. But on top of that as well, like XP3 being your main AWPer in this, with the level of importance put on an AWPer, he's another player that only seems to have one good game once in a blue moon. I don't know. I think it's a shame because they put so much money into this. It was like such a lot of potential with all of the sponsorship that they had and all the opportunities they've had. They got a team house, I think, or a boot camp, rather, I should say. I think that it is. They're actually all living there in Chicago. It's just sad, really. That I don't think. Listen, I don't think it's ever going to hit the level that it should. Man.
Just a bit.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's just a bit sad, isn't it?
Bit fucking tragic.
Not tragic. It's not tragic, but it's definitely sad. It's definitely sad because, I look at a lot of hardworking teams that are coming up. Selfless, for example, with Ryu, who they're trying to do the right thing. They're recruiting new untried players. They're trying to get a system in place where it works. Ryu, of course, publicly came out when there was all this brouhaha about invites to the Face It League, the ECS that just got announced. And it was Ryu who said, actually, guys, look, so what if there's a bit of fucking nepotism, a bit of cronyism in the invites? That's how business works, and it's my fault as a brand owner if we do not book that trend and I don't get our name in that mix. So this is a level-headed guy, and it's like, well, why couldn't... If Winter Fox have these resources with a team house and a sponsorship, there's a team right there that, are looking to get money coming in and whatnot. And I think they would do any brand a lot prouder than that current crop of players. Might be a controversial thing to say. I don't know. Just my opinion. The other story that literally just broke while we were on air, and this is fucking crazy. Waylander leaves Gambit. And this is like... he just put a tweet out saying, I'm not playing in Gambit anymore. GG. WP. He's dropped a GGWP, mate.
He is not us.
Yeah, like that is literally... I'm not even fucking around here. Like, if you leave... If you're like one of the star players on a team, arguably the star player on the team, and he just drops a GGWP publicly? Is this real?
GG.
That's fucked up, dog. It's like... I know, it's like breaking up with somebody. Like, think about it, right? Okay, you come home, your girlfriend of, I don't know, let's say 5 years. Okay, let's say 5 years.
This has become a therapy session already.
Yeah, let's say 5 years.
She said, I'm sick of this esports shit. You can't be reporting anymore, Richard. I mean, Waylander, Jan.
And let's say you get back, and there's just a little note there, and all her stuff's gone, right? It's all gone. She's clearly gone, right? And you think, well, this note will shed some fucking light on it. You pick it up, and it's just, I no longer want to be your girlfriend, GGWP. Or maybe GGDP. I don't know. Is this fucking real life? GGWP. So something's gone on there. Now, a lot of people are speculating he's going to go to that Finnish team, Ensa or Enka. I can't really fucking pronounce it. But it's an acronym anyway. It doesn't really matter. So I don't know. I don't know where he's going to end up, right? I don't know where he's going to end up. And that's crazy. That's a huge loss for Gambit. We were talking about how Gambit could be a surprise package in 2016 moving forward. I'll tell you this. As good as the players on that, like Moo is playing well. Hooch, great in-game leader. Mad respect. So glad he's back. Dozier, obviously, the legend, the sex god. But Waylander dropping out of that team's a big fucking deal. A big fucking deal. And I don't know where he's going to end up, but wherever he ends up, it certainly hurts Gambit. Now, am I right in saying, were you in Malmo?
Yeah, I was there, bud.
So I don't get to go to DreamHack anymore, but you do.
Yeah.
So is that how it works? So what happened out in Malmo?
It was fucking dog shit, mate. Like, literally the most boring event I've ever been to. Well, number one is Sweden, so everything just shuts at 1, no matter what. Went out on a Friday night, yeah. Clear out now, boys, 1 a.m. I mean, alright, sound. I've had 2 beers. And then, the Twitch after party, see, this is why this is shit that you didn't go to DreamHack. Before we went to the after party, we messaged, like, a person from Twitch saying, like, can you get us on the list? They're like, yeah, sound, on the list. Right, sound. Show up. Okay, yeah, we're on the list? No, you're not. I said, you haven't even got a list? Yeah, you just not. I mean, I am like, just this random American bird. Whoever was the American bird in the door, don't know why he was so aggro, but he was just mad aggro for no reason. Like, just said, I'm on a list. No, you're not. I mean, I am like. And then she's like, well, you're not getting in. I was like, sound. I guess I'll just go home. So I end up going to bed at like 1 a.m. It was a shit. A physical shit.
So what you're telling me is the event was bad because you didn't get into the Twitch after party?
Well,
that seems
I didn't know you meant about the actual games.
Like, no, I mean the event as a whole looked all right from where I was sat. Actually,
I didn't even watch many of the games, to be honest, mate. I'm at that point of esports now. I go there, I do my job, I go home.
Is that it?
Yeah. I was recording interviews for the Daily Dot, mate. I am becoming a mini Richard. The Daily Dot. Getting banned from DreamHack parties.
Yeah, it's
We're
shocking,
almost
mate.
there.
We're almost there. All you got to do is defend yourself next time you're on Swedish soil, and that'll be it. Right? You'll have committed the most heinous crime of all, which is found guilty of possession of a backbone while in Sweden. So NIP won. They beat Navi. Navi, for me, choked again in a final. I went back, I watched the game live. I went back, I watched VODs of the game. I'm going to get demos and watch it a little bit closer. So many mistakes made by by Navi to lose to NIP. And not to take anything away from the NIP performance, because obviously NIP did perform admirably and well above the level they've been performing. But again, you can't, if a team makes mistakes, they give you the opportunity to succeed. And NIP is so experienced, obviously, they're going to capitalize. Now, to not take a map against NIP is for me, for Navi, quite shocking. And of course, we saw them capitulate in the final against Luminosity. I'm starting to wonder if Navi have a mentality problem. I'm really starting to wonder about it.
Feels a bit over the top. Like, what other events have they shown this in?
Well,
have they ever choked this hard before?
I mean, they did get like 16-2 or whatever the fuck it was by Luminosity, which has never happened before. Always their games have been super close. Every map, every series, and then they went one map behind and they just fucking capitulated and went, and there was obviously something wrong. Flamey stayed out on the stage at the major while they all went backstage. Admins and stuff were talking about shouting from the teams, like there's something going on. I mean, don't get me wrong, right? Look, Guardian's obviously his arm's fucked, like he's obviously got problems, okay, but like. They were playing so well. As Thorin said on the broadcast, they could have conceivably won the whole tournament with Starix in the lineup. Mm-hmm. And Guardian came back, and he was at about 70% for me. But 70% Guardian is still better than almost every other AWPer in the world. So,
well, to be fair, I was there when they were coming off the stage, and they actually seemed really not arsed, surprisingly.
yeah.
None of the screaming or shouting or anything. They were all together, and they were just talking. Actually, as soon as they got off the stage, they were talking to production about Na'Vi in a different game, like a different team. Na'Vi daughter, I think it was, in like a best five. Like, oh, what's the score? Like, they didn't seem arsed at all. So maybe they were just not too bothered to win, or maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, it was a bit odd, but obviously the big story is NIP winning. Were you there for the moment? Did you have your camera out, Sam?
Yeah, I did, mate. Yeah. Did my job.
A lot of people have been saying that it was Goldie's spell from Trash Talk. It kicked in too late. What do you think?
Maybe. It did last for a while. It lasted like 6 months, and we bought like 2, so maybe it doubles. I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe. we did spend a lot of money on basically a witch.
What a bullshit sidekick.
Yeah. Why not, right? Why not? So I think that's pretty much all the news. We'll get to wrapping up the show. As I said, I want to watch Optic take on Echo Fox tonight. A lot of people have been asking what I've been doing. Obviously, been in America. I'm back now because contract negotiations are done. Can't say too much about it still. But basically, I'm going to be able to do a few shows. Now, I've talked to some good old friends of mine in the form of Dazed and Steel. And I think we're going to get a couple of shows together. I think we're going to get a show with Dazed and a separate show with Steel. So I think that'll be interesting. I'm going to try and keep them CSGO focused, bar one or two, because I think that's just where esports is at right now. I think everyone's finally realized Counter-Strike is the greatest team esport that there's ever been. And it's finally getting the recognition that it deserves. And all this League of Legends drama today with gross score and all this nonsense, I think it just really underlines where the two scenes are at. Like, at least when you have drama in Counter-Strike, you know, it's like, ooh, he can't travel because of this, and he can't do it. What's going on with you? Yeah, we're just fucking groupies, because otherwise we'd be massive virgins. In fact, if you want to hear the perfect quote that sums up every LCS pro, there was an interview with, Peter Crouch, the footballer. Now, for those that don't know, Peter Crouch is a soccer player. He played for Southampton. I think he played for Portsmouth, and he certainly played for Liverpool. He was a massive, gangly, like 6'9", skinny, kind of buck-toothed. Not a great-looking lad by any stretch of the imagination. But he actually is married to a model. And far be it from me to suggest that money can be a motivator for these things. Anyway, there was an interview with him, and they said to him, so what would you be if you weren't a footballer? And he thought about it for a few moments, and he said, a virgin. That's true. That actually happened. It's my second favorite footballing quote of all time. The other one has to be Steven Gerrard, when he was asked what his favorite type of cheese was in an interview in Shoot magazine for kids or whatever it was. What's your favorite type of cheese? And he said, melted. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. So anyway, we're going to go watch that game, but we are going to be bringing you some more shows. I don't know how long it's going to last, but we're going to do them for as long as we can. There is going to be more content in my future. The deal that I've agreed to will involve more content. It'll be content of this nature. Well, I think, it might not be as unfiltered as it used to be. Also, we're going to do one final trash talk. I've had talks with Don Dolo. The Don Dolo story is going to get wrapped up, and you're going to see it in all of its glorious technicolor. So I'm going to be here for a few weeks. We're going to show you exactly what Don did with the money that we gave him. I think you're going to like it. But for now, for the Richard Lewis Show, that is that. We'll be back at an unspecified time. Keep following my Twitter at rlewisreports, and you will hear all about it. Sam, do you have anything to say before we peace the fuck out?
Rest in peace, Easy.
Good stuff. We'll see you next time, boys. Take care.